In this installment, we're going to be going over Sunday night's football matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Denver Broncos. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to give you the winning ingredients for your Sunday night football matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Denver Broncos. But before I deep dive into that, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetsJetsD. Don't forget about the TikTok at Chef_D91. And don't forget about the Patreon if you want more DFS betting and fantasy football help. All of those links will be provided down below. Let's get into this slate. 49ers against the Broncos. A very, very intriguing matchup. We have Jimmy Garoppolo back at helm at quarterback. Even though I love the prospects of Trey Lance, they do not skip a beat here. They're in better situation now that Jimmy Garoppolo is the starting QB because they just go back to what they've been doing in previous seasons. Denver Broncos, they bring over Russell Wilson. As you can see, they are struggling and they are learning offensively, and especially in the red zone, can't get the ball in the end zone. So we'll see if that changes in this particular game. Let's start off with the captain position. The guys we're going to focus in on. First one that I love in this slate, he should be in each and every one of your lineups, will be Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is going to be a lock. Obviously, they use him in the receiving game, and they're using him in the rushing game. With injuries to their running back position for the 49ers, it's pretty much Jordan Mason, it's pretty much Marlon Mack, it's pretty much Eli Mitchell and Deebo Samuel. Okay, those first two guys, they're not going to get touches. For this offense, the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo does not run the ball, so we're going to see a lot of Deebo Samuel, and we're going to see a lot of Jeff Wilson. All right, if I said Elijah Mitchell, I apologize. Excuse me for that one. It's going to be Deebo, and it's going to be Jeff Wilson seeing a lot of carries. All right, Deebo right here is going to be a lock at the captain position. Other captains we're going to look at, I did speak about Jeff Wilson. He's going to be splitting carries with Deebo. All right, but he's going to get a high volume, 20 touches that we saw in week 2 against Seattle. Obviously, they cleaned the clock of the Seahawks. 18 carries, 84 rushes, also received 2 receptions and 2 targets for 19 yards. So these are going to be the mainstays for the San Francisco 49ers offense, Deebo and Wilson. It just depends who's going to get the ball in the red zone area and who's going to break a big run. So I like both of these guys in our lineups. You could definitely go that way. And what I think is going to be more of a defensive type of game, if we're looking across the board against QBs, running backs, wide receivers, you're going to see San Francisco and Denver in top 10 of each and every one of those categories. You see Denver right here. The 49ers are third in the league against QBs, running backs, the same problem here. Denver is up there, and also the 49ers are right here, all in the top 10, and that goes with the wide receivers as well. Denver's number 1, and 49ers is number 4. All right. So across the board, this is why I'm leaning more to a more defensive game. Russell Wilson, you can get creative and throw him in a few lineups, but I think it's going to take time for him and his offense to gel. We're seeing a lot of injuries on that Denver side of the ball. If we're just looking, we get Patrick Surtain. He's expected to play this week. Jerry Jeudy is going to be back, so that's going to be a benefit. Jeudy and Sutton. KJ Hamler, who stretches the field, is going to be questionable, so you have to watch out news for him, and he's going to be affected in that flex range of guys that you're going to lean into. So Russell Wilson, I'm going to throw in the pool. He's not a love at all for this particular game or this matchup. I don't think Denver has earned the respects to really throw them as an elite offense because things need to gel with Nathaniel Hackett. If we're looking at another way to get exposure to Denver, I think it's going to be Javonte Williams. All right, he's getting more and more snaps. Week 1, we saw him against Seattle, 7 for 43, and had 11 receptions. So if they get down big, you know they're going to utilize Javonte Williams' catching ability in particular situations, which this one is going to be close. They're going to be tough first downs that they're going to need to get. Javonte Williams is a running back that they're going to lean on. They've been using less and less of Melvin Gordon, and we saw it in week 2. There was a jump in snaps. Javonte took a full lead, 15 carries, 75 yards, and got 4 targets, only 10 yards there in a tough matchup against Houston. So Javonte, I think he can spring a couple things loose for this offense. He's going to be the mainstay on the Denver side that I really, really like. Courtland Sutton has become a number 1 wide receiver in this particular offense. 7 targets in week 1, 11 in week 2. Didn't get in the end zone yet, but I like to see 7 receptions, 122 yards. All right, we see that connection between Sutton and Russell Wilson. If I'm going on with a one-off player, receiving wise, Courtland Sutton is going to be my favorite guy. Jerry Jeudy is going to be a backup captain spot. Sneaky play. He was able to get in the end zone in week 1. So we saw things change over. It was more Jerry Jeudy in week 1, and then it was more Courtland Sutton in week 2. Things are going to gel together where you have both guys going off. But in this particular matchup, San Francisco, I think, has a very, very stout defense. Reliable quarterback that knows this offense and is going to get things going. So Jerry Jeudy, I'll bump him down on the tiers for captain, but he needs to be someone you need to think about. One of my favorite plays at captain will be George Kittle. One of the main weaknesses for the Denver Broncos defense, if we're looking at fantasy points allowed, we go down to the Denver Broncos. They are 3rd to last, 30th ranked against the tight end position. Okay, so that's going to be that's going to be huge for this slate. A lot of people are going to fade George Kittle because it's going to be his first game back, but this is the perfect opportunity. All right, so this is going to be my favorite captain play for this particular game, George Kittle. Make sure you have him. Start him in all your fantasy football leagues and in DFS. We're going to play him today. All right, definitely is going to be one of my favorite locks, George Kittle. Obviously, you can see I'm more one-sided to the 49ers. I think that they're going to have a very solid effort for going up against a very struggling Denver Broncos team. And that's crazy because if you look at Denver Broncos in September at home, they have an 82-31 record. So that's going to be pretty shocking, but the line speaks, right? 49ers are currently favored in this game, and those are going to be the captains that we should definitely focus on. Let's go over to the flex guys before we wrap this up. The first one I'm going to speak about will be Jimmy Garoppolo. If I'm choosing the quarterback in this particular game, that's crazy. I would like to have Jimmy G over Russell Wilson. Like I said, he already knows this offense. He's been salivating for this opportunity to prove himself yet again. Unfortunately, it came at the cost of Trey Lance, but Jimmy G is back at the helm, and he has a nice price in this flex position, someone you can definitely trust. All right, next guy we can look at is Brandon Ayuk. All right, he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, with Debo taking a lot of the carries. Rushing wise, Brandon Ayuk is looking like the number 1 wide receiver. The only problem is that if we look at this injury report, we have Patrick Surtain expected to play. He's going to see a lot of Patrick Surtain against Brandon Ayuk, so that's going to be a very tough matchup from him. So I don't expect a big game from Ayuk, but this is definitely someone you need to notify and have a little sprinkle in your lineups if he's able to break one. All right, if we continue to go down, Melvin Gordon is an option we can throw in at flex, but I like Javonte more. If we're looking for cheaper options down here, find out and wait out for news for KJ Hamler. If he's in, then definitely that can stretch the field for the Denver Broncos, open things up. Albert Akui-Bunum is very up and down. He saw 6 targets in week 1, 2 in week 2. So we're not 100% sure what we're going to see from this Denver Broncos offense. Like I said, they are still figuring things out, struggling in the red zone. So if you feel confident in him and his talent, then sure you can, but I'm more one-sided on this 49ers side. Other guys we can look at, we have Ross Dwelly, but he's more going to be a secondary tight end option. George Kittle's back. I really like him. I don't feel like we need to go that way. Jawan Jennings can be a sneaky play with Brandon Ayuk seeing Patrick Surtain. The number 2 wide receiver is going to get open. All right, and Jawan Jennings receives a nice solid game in week 1, 4 for 62. Struggled in week 2. in that particular game, but he has upside in this one going up against Denver's defense. So I'm going to throw him in there as a flex play. And in this particular game, we're going to be more viable to defenses and kickers. If I'm leaning one particular way, we're going to go with the 49ers defense, who I have confidence in. For kickers wise, Brandon McManus has been a very solid kicker, already averaging 11.5 fantasy points a game. We have 11 and 12 in the first 2 weeks. I think he's going to be key in this matchup with Denver struggling to score the football in the red zone and key areas. Brandon McManus has been coming out and knocking that football through the field goal post. And as you can see, he already has 23 fantasy points. So if we're looking for defenses, 49ers defense. If we're looking for kickers, I lean on the Denver kicker because of all the offensive struggles. Any punt plays lower than the kickers in defense. Eric Saubert saw a touchdown last week. He's the number 2 tight end in this offense. Other guys below Eric Saubert that you can throw a punt play towards in your flex to finish in your last 2 bottom spots. Marlon Mack has been activated. I really wouldn't go there. I think we just to stay with Jeff Wilson and Deebo Samuel, getting the bulk of the carries. Kendall Hinton right here is going to be a sneaky play. If KJ Hamler is out, he will become the slot wide receiver. He's going to be utilized a little bit more if KJ Hamler is out. So you can go towards him at 1,200. And then other than that, that's pretty much it. You always got Kyle Juszczyk. Juszczyk is always good for 1 TD, and he did it in week 2. Had 2 rushes, 1 touchdown, even had a target as well. He's just one of those gadget guys that they very trustworthy guy that they utilize, and obviously he can block. But Kyle Juszczyk is the final desperate play that I would go with. But if we're really building a lineup for this particular game slate, I love Deebo. We love Jeff Wilson. We love Javonte Williams. And we also love George Kittle. All right. These are going to be my mainstays for this particular lineup. Oh, don't forget about Brandon McManus because of the struggles that the Denver Broncos offense is having. So these are the guys you should focus in on having the majority of your lineups. I think you guys are going to do great. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter, MetsNetsJetsD, and I'll be back with another video very soon. All right, peace out.